All right, welcome back to Finger Lakes. Today, it's time for sports, and I'm joined here in studio by Kyle, Jim, Nate, and Paul Russo, who's behind the desk. You can't quite see him, but he's here. And we're all here because it's a big weekend in sports, obviously the Super Bowl. But before we get to that, Nate, a little high school basketball action last night. What do we have going on?
Yeah, Paul and I had a fun one last night in Waterloo as the Waterloo girls came out victorious against the Minders girls. Took them down by 22 last night. A couple other good games, too, last night. Gananda beat Clyde, and there was some other good Finger Lakes. There was another good Finger Lakes East game, too, on the girls' side. But we're looking at tonight, too, right? Kyle and Jim were some big games
right?
tonight.
Last night.
I believe Mid-Lakes won, too. Yeah, I think Palmac
against Newark.
Well. So,
but... yeah, it was the biggest, closest game with the most implications was probably the Gananda win over Clyde-Savannah.
Yes.
So
Yep.
Gananda bounces back. I think that they control maybe their own destiny now in the Wayne County Girls League.
Yeah,
But
I'd say so.
they turn around tonight, and Clyde has now East Rochester. So Clyde could really could use the win, but then again, so could East Rochester. So
right, Clyde's now dropped 2 in a row,
Yeah.
Monday and then last night.
it's a tight Wayne County Girls.
Really good
top
basketball.
that league. Yep.
And then some other basketball news, professional basketball news.
Well, there's some big games tonight on the boys' side. Some real big games in the Finger Lakes East, right, Kyle?
Yep. Wayne and is it Palmac?
Yep,
And
Wayne
then
and Palmac.
And Newark is playing
Waterloo.
Yep.
And
those
so,
are big games.
And so Wayne, if Wayne needs to win that game to stay in the title chase, Palmac currently, I think, controls their own destiny in the East. Or maybe they're tied with
Newark
Newark.
does,
They're
mostly.
tied with
yeah,
Newark.
Newark has 9 league wins,
Newark
and I
has
think
the most
Wayne
wins.
does too.
But on the loss side, they're tied in the loss column.
Yes.
Newark and so Newark playing Waterloo, that's a game they could lose. Palmac playing one of their rivals in Wayne, so you could see the shift for the Finger Lakes East league title tonight. So
Yep.
those are 2 games certainly to watch, along with that East Rochester Clyde girls game.
How much time left in the regular season? Week and a half?
Officially, a week from today is the final slate of games, so it's coming down to the wire.
Snow, which doesn't look like we're going to get any.
Nope. Syracuse basketball. Let's get to college before we jump another level here.
Yeah.
How are we feeling? Couple wins. We're in a bet. Are we in a better place now?
Well, it's better after a couple wins than 3 straight losses like they had before they knocked off Boston College and Florida State, but they should beat Boston College and Florida State. I mean, they were both road games, so I guess that's good, but Florida State's, I think, a 6-win team, and so we should have beat them, and we did.
And it
which
didn't
is
look
good.
so good in the first half, though. Only 29 points.
Yeah.
They're down by 6. But, they came out in the second half and looked much better. Outscored them by, 15? And
I felt like the refs were really not helping us out much in that first half, almost as if those ACC refs wanted to show Boeheim something from his recent comments. That's the feeling I got, because I felt like we were getting bodied up pretty hard going to the rim, and they just weren't blowing the whistle.
Jim Boeheim doesn't do himself any favors, that's for sure.
That's what it felt like to me, but we have more talent than Florida State this year, and Girard played a pretty good game.
I was going to say, how about Joe Girardi?
Yeah.
It was 5 for 8 from the 3-point line. He's hitting big shots. Actually looked really good last
Didn't
night.
turn it over. And Judah Mintz played good. They played good, but again, Florida State's one of the worst teams in the league.
Yep.
So it's hard to gauge it. Still, Syracuse is going to need to make a deep run in the ACC tournament to even have a glimmer of hope for the NCAA tournament. So it's tough to get too excited about back-to-back wins, Boston College and Florida State, but they were on the road. One other note, though, Syracuse sports, the girls lacrosse team, I think they're ranked 3rd in the country. They open up Saturday at home against Northwestern, who I think is 4th in the country. I'm going to the game with my daughter and a couple of her friends, noon start in the Dome. I think they have some other festivities lined up for the opening game. So, and if you go to a girls lacrosse game at the Dome, you got the best seats in the house. We sit on the 50-yard line, basically. So, and it's I can't remember what it costs, but pretty inexpensive. And the weather looks good.
Sounds like a sure sign of spring.
Yeah.
When you start talking about lacrosse, sounds
Right.
like a sure sign of spring.
Yep.
Who do they have next? Who does basketball team have next?
Good question.
Yeah, I haven't looked ahead.
NC State next on Valentine's Day.
Okay.
I think in the Dome. And now there is another opportunity. NC State picked up I think, did Virginia beat NC State last night? I think Virginia beat NC State, but NC State would be considered a quality win, which we have very few of.
Yep.
So
Need basically all of them. We've talked about that before, though.
Yep.
Kevin Durant to Phoenix, heading west.
Yeah, that broke last night late, about 1 a.m. on the East Coast here. Yeah, Kevin Durant going for a whole bunch of picks. Mikal Bridges going in the deal too as well. TJ Warren going to be going back to Phoenix too. We thought this would happen too with the Nets. They traded Kyrie Irving a couple days ago. Yeah. Now they had a 35-year-old Kevin Durant. Weren't really sure, where they were going to go with that. They ended up making that deal with Phoenix. They've been talking about that forever.
I think it's great for him.
Right. The most interesting part is the Phoenix Suns. They got a relatively new owner. He took ownership. I'm blanking right now on his name. Starts with an I. He started about 12 to 24 hours ago, and he already has this blockbuster deal. So that's really cool to me.
Yeah, I suppose if you buy a team, you're going to be itching to put your own mark on it. So,
and the two teams actually played each other Tuesday night. So that was kind of interesting how 24 hours later the trade surfaced late at night. So,
what do you think, Paul, about that move? Good move for Durant?
I don't know if it's necessarily good per se, but we'll see. It's going to be a chaotic deadline, or it has been a chaotic deadline. I don't know what the Nets' exact game plan here is. I think they've shot themselves in the foot, and in the divorce, they ended up with Ben Simmons. So congratulations, you got overhyped. I look, Durant probably wasn't going to hang around.
The Nets are horrible.
Play, so.
They haven't been on the second round since they picked up these guys, and now they're just decimated. So it's going to start the rebuilding process. But I think it's a great move for Kevin Durant because he's on a contender now, and when he won his only NBA title, he went to a team in Golden State that won the year before. Yeah. So if you remember when he went to Golden State, it was like, oh, great. Now Golden State's going to win again, obviously. And of course they did. So it's if you get an NBA championship ring, that's great and everything. But I don't think that anybody's like, Kevin Durant won that because he came to a team that won it the year before without him anyway. So now he comes to a Phoenix team that I think has the pieces to make a run. And if he can, that just does a lot for his legacy. But it's still, it's probably a long shot. Not a long shot, but
they're probably
not
one
of
the top favorites in the West for sure.
Yeah, maybe like third or fourth favorite.
Probably around there. Yeah.
So that's to me, that's what was interesting about it is from Durant's perspective. Now he comes to a team that hasn't won an NBA title, that has maybe the pieces to do it in the next year or two, and if he does, that just really is a big boost to his.
They did just get there a couple of years ago, so they have the pedigree, I guess you could say.
How many more years does he have in him?
Well, LeBron's 38, right? And
but he plans on playing until he's like 42.
Plus, Kevin Durant's had some really tough injuries over the last few years.
He's missed the last month, actually.
Right, that too. So that's going to be interesting to see. LeBron breaking the scoring record, and not to talk too much about LeBron here. We're talking about Durant. But, yeah, LeBron he seems like Tom Brady. He doesn't stop.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I'll say about that, and I think it applies to Brady and LeBron or all these athletes now when you compare them to the old school NBA players. You wouldn't see guys like Larry Bird or Magic Johnson or Dominique Wilkins or whoever, Isaiah Thomas, players from that era, or even Michael Jordan and those guys playing so deep into their 40s or playing into their 40s. Because they just, first of all, they didn't have the personal coaching, the nutritional coaching, the team support. The Boston Celtics used to have like one team trainer, and even the advancement in science in those areas, in health, it's just something that wasn't available, I think, to the players of like the 80s and 90s.
Game was a heck of a lot more physical then too.
Well, that's the other thing.
A lot less was called, and that just over a span of 10 or 12 years in a career, that just wears players down.
That's absolutely right, and that's why I don't like the NBA nowadays. Not necessarily the physicalness of it, but these guys take the days off now. So
they don't play back-to-backs very often.
Yeah.
Even if they're, in their late 20s, they don't play back-to-backs. It's weird.
And it's ridiculous because they are paid at a level that's commensurate to them having some hardship. And, you bring your kid to the game and you pay $400 a ticket and they want to come and see LeBron or Durant or any of these guys. And, guess what? He's not going to play that day. Sorry, Johnny. You don't get to see your favorite player, even though you shelled out $400 a ticket or sometimes more. And to me, it's ridiculous. It shouldn't be allowed. And I just think of those old school NBA guys probably can't believe it.
I feel like that was more of a debate and discussion a few years ago, but now it's so common,
right,
that it's just, I don't even think many people notice it.
Yeah, if they don't want to shorten the season, then they're just going to have that. If they don't want to take games away from 82 a season, then
Larry
players
Bird
are going to play
played
load
82.
management.
Michael Jordan played 82.
Yeah, but with science and sports science being so much different now, you're just not going to see guys that are like LeBron or like Kevin Durant, or even like Kyle said, guys in their late 20s playing 82 games.
No, they should take pay cuts then.
Well, you're not going to see any change until whether the TV. A lot of this will come down to whether or not we have a mid-season tournament like Silver wants to do, or anything like that. Because more or less, it's not so much bringing 82 games down, sports science, anything like that. It's all on the money side of things. TV revenue is just too good for the NBA still for anything to really change in terms of scheduling or anything like that.
That's all fine, but that's why I don't give a crap about the NBA and don't watch it.
Like always. Well, like any of the major sports, it comes down to how much money you're making.
Correct.
Can we make more money? Is there a way that we could potentially make more money? I don't know. Part of me wonders if you didn't shorten the season a bit, you'd create more demand.
Oh,
when
no
there are
doubt.
games
No
on.
doubt. 100%. Like, that's why the NFL is so popular.
Scarcity,
right.
They play one
Like-
game a week. Everybody can follow it. You've got to take your Sunday afternoons to watch your team. You don't miss any games. So, yeah, I think that would be a huge thing that would make the NBA more interesting, even in the way that college basketball is more digestible with their length of their season, 1 or 2 games a week.
But wait a second. Aren't college basketball games significantly shorter to watch on television than
They're
an
2
NBA
20-minute
game?
halves as opposed to 4 12-minute quarters.
But even just with like TV timeouts and breaks and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
it seems like college basketball is the most efficient of all
Yeah,
of
it's
the
very
major sports that we
digestible
watch
to
on TV.
watch. But, even if the NBA games were a little longer, if they were only playing 2 games a week, you could watch them. But, wake me up in the conference finals. That's when I'll start watching NBA.
Yeah. It goes back to like what you said about, weeknight games when you're watching. You hate seeing Syracuse on at 9:00 on a Tuesday.
I personally don't, because I'm a night owl, so it's great. You can do whatever you want, and then 9:00 finally rolls around. Sometimes when they play at 7, I feel like I'm, just rushing down to get in front of the TV in time.
Yeah.
But in general, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for the players and the coaches, especially that are traveling. I don't think it's great for other East Coast viewers.
And I think of all of the sports, because Nate, you went to a couple Sabres games, and Kyle, you've been to a bunch. Weeknight game turnout in Buffalo is significantly different than Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. But
when Syracuse
scheduling,
plays at
you can
home
be
at-
smart about that.
Syracuse plays at home at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night in January. That kills attendance. And, I was even looking at that Florida State game last night. It was like, I don't know, what was the attendance? Like 3,000? There was like nobody there.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy compared to, if you look at the atmosphere in any Big East game, whether it's Xavier versus Providence or Seton Hall, against Butler or whatever. I love the Big East Conference, and you'll see nothing but excitement and full arenas for those games.
The Waterloo Miners game was more full.
Yeah.
About 80% in the gymnasium. It was awesome last night.
Yeah, that's always great about that crosstown rivalry games. For Minders fans to take the trip to watch Waterloo, it's no different than going to Walmart.
Right. Senior night too, so they had pep band and stuff there. So
Yeah, I
it was an
like the
awesome
Waterloo
atmosphere.
does that. They started doing that maybe 3-4 years ago. They used to do the boys girls double headers that were just totally off the hook in terms of like packed, like standing room only.
That's awesome.
And they didn't do that this year, but I'd like to see more of that.
Has that happened since COVID?
They did one earlier in Minders, right?
Oh, the one at Minders was a boys girls
Yep,
doubleheader,
earlier in the year. So every once in a while.
and it was a
Yeah.
packed
Yep.
gymnasium in Arthur L. Baker for that.
All right, so let's get into the Super Bowl. A couple weeks ago, we did.